Uhuru, and welcome everyone. Welcome back. We ready on the live. We ready in the Zoom room. Uhuru. Thank everybody again for the support of the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. We are now going to continue on with our very, very powerful conference. We're on day 2, and it's the afternoon. And with this, we want to welcome up the participants that are going to be participating in the Education Working Group and Youth and Student Working Group. And the first presenter that we will be calling upon is our comrade, Emmanuel Maku. Brother Emmanuel Maku is the chair of the Youth and Student Working Group. He is also a member of InPDUM and the African People's Socialist Party. And he says that he came into political participation through the annual Black People's March on the White House. And he is a product of the work of the Black is Back Coalition. He says he's relatively new to organizing, but he's faithful and strong and a stout warrior. Brother Emmanuel, Uhuru. Uhuru.
Uhuru, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can. Uhuru.
Uhuru, right on. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. Uhuru and freedom greetings, comrades and brothers. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. My name is Emmanuel. I chair the Youth and Student Working Group, which is a subcommittee under the leadership of the Black is Back Coalition. And I would like to express my deep appreciation for the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations for this incredible 17th annual conference of the Black is Back Coalition and the continuing of the revolutionary fight for African people to become self-determining and free as a people, as well as saluting my leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella, chairman of the Black is Back Coalition, as well as the leader and founder of the Uhuru movement, and as well as Comrade Vice Chair Lisa Davis, and the rest of the Black is Back Coalition Steering Committee. I want to also express my deepest appreciation to Dillard University and the youth and students in attendance today. I do want to say that the Black is Back Coalition has 19 points has a 19-point Black political agenda for self-determination that has been won through the mass participation of African people throughout this country, and that is an incredible statement of the needs of our community, and that we must take this struggle of how to be responsible for our own future and transforming our material realities into every arena and sector of society where African people are, whether it be in the communities that we live, or in the churches, or on the playgrounds and basketball courts, whether that be in the hospitals, the prisons, and more particular to this current setting, into the schools. We mustn't leave any stone unturned. I do want to say that part of the 19-point Black political agenda for self-determination has stated that in point number 13, that of our Black political agenda, it states that of the right to free education through a postgraduate level. Public schools must meet the highest standards of excellence under the supervision of educational boards directly elected by the communities they serve. And we oppose both for-profit schooling and philosophies of teaching that put profit over human development. And we support democratic educational values and strategies that empower students and their communities to determine their own destinies. In the immediate term, Black people in the U.S. need education that facilitates our liberation from white supremacy and corporate hegemony. I want to call on you all. Let's bring the various Black youth and student organizations and clubs, both on and off campus, in in network with our peers nationally in the Black is Back Coalition, where we can work with and learn from each other on the necessary struggles that are being made, and as well as the necessary struggles that we should be making to affect real material change in the communities where we live and stay. I do also want to salute the leadership body of the Youth and Student Working Group for the work that's been done thus far this year in pushing forward the demand for Black community control of education and also working more with the education working group to push this demand forward nationally, and as well as the Youth and Student Working Group working to end the constant attacks being made on Black youth across this country. I do have a few slides. I'll share. The mission of the Youth and Student Work Group is to win Black youth to a national Black political agenda for self-determination, to win Black youth into national organization, to win Black youth into the Youth and Student Working Group, and to build the Youth and Student Work Group, as well as to build the Black Back Coalition to capacity. We created this call to join the Youth and Student Work Group earlier this year to present to studies that were happening on the campuses. Uhuru and freedom greetings, comrades, sisters, and brothers. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. My name is Emmanuel. I am the current chair of the Youth and Student Working Group, a subcommittee of the Black SPAC Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. And this is a call to join the Youth and Student Working Group. The Youth and Student Working Group works to bring the masses of Black youth and Black students into the Black is Back Coalition to continue the unfinished work of our ancestors and freedom fighters. And we work with many sectors of our communities, and among the youth and students from the least developed among us to the progressive sector of our communities, to the anti-racist sector of our communities, to the anti-imperialist sector of our communities, to the anti-colonial sector of our communities, as we continue the work to move our communities and our people away from and independent of and overturning the brutal domestic colonialism which has been imposed on us and our ancestors at gunpoint. And colonialism is not, simply settlers occupying some foreign land. Colonialism is the domination of an entire people by a foreign and alien state power. It is a parasitic relationship between the colonized and the colonizer, which works to extract any real and meaningful production necessary for the production of life, like the production of food, clothing, shelter, the basis upon which this production occurs, like land, the technology and tools necessary to continue production, like education and more. Which would otherwise be used to produce life for ourselves in our own hands and on our own terms, but is instead extracted and expropriated at gunpoint to produce European life, bourgeois life, the life of the colonizer. And very quickly, it was Frederick Douglass, I believe, who said something to the effect that education and slavery is incompatible. This is due to the fact that education is supposed to teach the student how to be responsible holders and shapers of the future. And one of the questions that we are confronted with within the Youth and Student Working Group and youth in general is that independent of our own will, the youth of any society works to solve the problems of the future, and whether the conditions that exist today and the conditions that we have grown up in are acceptable in the future. Because it is our future that we're talking about. For example, whether the question of poverty will exist in the future, homelessness, food insecurity, lack of quality health care, the attacks on our human rights, the constant assaults being made on our democratic rights of free speech and the right to organize towards our own interests. These are the questions that we are working to solve. And so join the Youth and Student Working Group. We are working to promote and win our peers and our classmates to a demand for Black community control of education in response to the failures of colonial education, which works to maintain the status quo and does not put forward a curriculum that that promotes the health and well-being of the Black community and solving our problems as a community. We are also working on a campaign in response to the long and unceasing U.S. war on Black youth and defending our right to have a meaningful future determined and shaped by our people and ourselves, as we recognize the U.S.'s war on Black youth as part of the U.S. war on the Black community. And the state-sponsored war on our youth is ultimately a war on our community's future. So join the Youth and Student Working Group today. Go to blacksbackcoalition.org. We say not one generation more, liberation in our lifetime. Uhuru. We are winning. Uhuru. Yeah, next slide. So we're calling on all youth and students to join the Blacks Back Coalition, to join the Youth and Student Work Group of the Blacks Back Coalition. You can sign up for our next meeting, which is this Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and as well as sign up for our mailing list. Also, please do go to blackisbackcoalition.org and register as a member as well. And we say not one generation more, liberation in our lifetime, and we are winning. Our education must be used to forward the struggle of freeing our communities. Or, thank you. Or, is there sound?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear us?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for reminding me of that.
Thank you so much. Can I be heard?
Yes.
I would like
Yes.
to also ask that the screen be opened for my co-presenter for the Education Working Group, Maddison Tirado of the Black Alliance for Peace, a student organizer. Can we open his camera, please?
Peace.
There you go. All right. I want to thank you for getting on. Before I start my presentation, I want to introduce our co-panelist. If you'll bear with a tech challenge person. Brother Maddison is an organizer with the Black Alliance for Peace based out of the Bronx. He grew up in a community center area called the Bridgeville Civic League, where he first began organizing and continued those efforts into college, organizing for Black and Palestinian liberation, along with environmental justice. Maddison is now a climate justice researcher for New York State and organizes locally in New York City for a Pan-African socialist future. And before he makes his presentation, I want to just give you a little background for our Education Working Group. As you know, the chairman has stated, the colonizers are tearing down their own institutions and waging war on colonized workers inside the United States and around the world. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela shows us that this is all a symptom of the uneasy equilibrium of colonialism in crisis. And in moments of colonial crisis, it is our duty to tip the system over, not prop it up. Africans have not taken these attacks lightly all around the world, we are rising up. That is a direct quote from our chairman. I also want to add a little bit more. And for those of you who are interested, the Burning Spear is a wonderful source if you want to give a good speech. And all you got to do is steal the ideas of all the comrades who contributed to the Burning Spear. One of the things that is being said is that the struggle of our young people in Kenya is proving that Africans are waking up to the African internationalist understanding that in a colonial bourgeois society, democracy is only a form of the state. Just because we are able to vote doesn't mean we are free from exploitation. And I want you to keep that contradiction in your head, because when you don't see patterns, you are in danger of being suffering an extinction. And if you don't see a pattern between the occupation of California to the occupation of Washington, D.C., and to what happened in Tulsa and what happened in Rosewood, then you are in danger of extinction. If you don't see a pattern in the fact that we now have all these colonial administrators who are in charge of our states within this colony known as the United States of America, who look like us, if you don't see the pattern of the black face on colonialism, then you are in danger of extinction. And this is why we who call ourselves the New Abolitionist Movement have joined with the Black is Back Coalition to fight against colonialism. Because colonialism is not the end that humans were created here for. We are here for self-determination. And at this point, I want to borrow the theme of our dear sister Asada. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. So the mission statement of the New Abolitionist Movement, which is an organization within the Black is Back Coalition, is to take control of our community institutions. You heard Comrade Maku talk about we believe in community control of public educations. How do you know community control of your public institutions is the solution to the problem of dual and contending powers under current American colonialism? The majority of the states where Black people are a majority of the public school system, there is mayoral control. Now, you know, if mayoral control was good for us, they would not let us have it. When you have mayoral control of a public school, it is not the building you should be looking at. When you are dealing with dual and contending powers in a capitalist country, you must look at the institutional budget. If you are an African in this country and you do not control your public education budget, you are a colonial slave. If you are an African in a public school system and you don't demand accountability for the reading scores and demand accountability for the quality of the math teachers, then you are a colonial slave. This is what public control of educational institutions means to me. When I hear the Black bourgeoisie or the Blackness leadership class tell me, oh, we can't have public schools because the public schools are so terrible, I turn to them and say, and then what did you do? Did you join the PTA? Did you demand the public budget for that school? Did you demand to be a part of the interview process when an assistant principal or a custodian or a computer technician is hired for that school? When we talk about dual and contending powers, it means you must be present. It doesn't mean you abrogate your authority to someone who claims to be the PTA president. Freedom is not free. And freedom means to be consciously involved in your local community institutions. Part of what our student working group does is it helps to go into the public school systems and to tutor and assist students. But not only that, to add as warriors to support the struggle of the parents of the students in that public institution. I want to a few more things to you before we pass the baton on. One of the principles of this organization is that they fight colonialism, neo-colonialism, Zionism, and military occupation, and the undeclared war on African people. When you look at Washington, D.C., you say, oh, how terrible. You recognize that the National Guard was there originally for Washington, D.C. But did you know they replaced the African brothers who were in the National Guard in Washington, D.C. with the European American National Guards from places like Virginia and Mississippi? And do I have to tell you why that was necessary? Because the contradictions of Africans in Washington, D.C. met them full in the face. They had to take over the army of occupation, interestingly enough, in Washington, D.C. that looked like Africans, but because even though they had been recruited into the army of occupation, they refused to obey some of the brutal requirements that the new control of the presidential office was requiring. There are contradictions within our system. This is what I am saying to you. And it is our duty as organizers not to bring peace, but to bring confusion and to cause people to second guess what they think is their duty in a country that is occupied by a colonial empire. I want to go further and give you some more information about what our program is here. This is an effort to build and enhance the movement for community control of publication education by supporting and strengthening the movement for safe, scientific, racially just, and equitable reopening of our community public schools. The Education Working Group of the Black is Back Coalition has supported and enhanced a national collective agenda on the part of a radical Black educators to unite teachers, parents, students, and community to advance community control and justice in the public education arena and to organize against mayoral control. We are opposed and we support police-free schools. We are opposed, and yet we support the total control of the budget process and district education contracts. We demand equitable access to online virtual learning resources. And we work with other progressive groups within our local communities to organize escalating actions in cities with communities ready to racialize and their demands upon us. We demand community control of safe and effective public education. Those of you who pay close attention to what has been happening in this country, you know, in the spring of 2020, a video of George Floyd being murdered by the Minneapolis police officer went viral. And something unprecedented happened. Millions of people filled the streets, marching and demanding the defunding of police and community-centered care and an acknowledgement that Black lives truly matter, not just on the streets, but in classrooms and school highways. And school districts responded, publicly vowing to remove armed officers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But 5 years later, data on cops in schools reveals that not only have many districts failed to fulfill these promises, but the scope of policing in schools has expanded into surveillance and AI-driven systems that, according to experts, disproportionately police our African children. What I'm saying to you is that colonialism is colonialism. Capitalism is capitalism. And you can only win by winning. And you must have a real struggle. You cannot vote your way to freedom. You cannot put a black face on it and say Obama and think you're free. You cannot put a black face on it and say Eric Adams and think you're free. The whole issue of freedom is that you must each be personally responsible. And if there's a public school in your neighborhood and you are not a volunteer supporting those parents in that school to understand the budget, to understand the contract system of capitalism in the educational system, then you are a moral and physical slave. And this is what unity is all about. And so I'd like to introduce my I consider him the son because his mother agreed to share him with me. And I'd like to introduce Maddison Garland Tirado, the Black Alliance for Peace student organizer. Thank you.
Uhuru, and peace, everybody. Thank you for having me today. I'm just going to start off with the basic, simple premise that Black people need to control our own education. This is not just because the education system misrepresents and distorts our history and sense of self. That is obvious. But because education is the largest public resource within our communities, and right now it's being administered in ways that drain wealth, knowledge, and safety out of our neighborhoods. If we understand and treat education as infrastructure, the same way roads, water, electricity, if we treat education as an engine of social reproduction, then community control over education becomes foundational for building our economy of self-determination and building political culture and structures that serve us and not extract. Public education really is one of the central battlegrounds that we need to be waging over African liberation and survival. If we think about the public school as an economy into itself, every year it's purely based off extraction. Billions of dollars from our communities flow into food services, textbooks, transportation, and technology. If we look at the Bronx, if we look Detroit, Atlanta, cities that still have their public school infrastructure, because many of our communities have completely erased. I think New Orleans has completely erased its public institutions except for one. These contracts are going into major financial companies such as Pearson, Amarak, McGraw-Hill, and Sodexo, which is famous for also running and profiting off of prison labor. And these are white-owned monopolies directly related to the prison industrial complex, directly getting all of our money while we are sending our kids to schools that we think are supposed to be doing something, but they're structurally designed not to work for us. They're designed to be extractive institutions where they warehouse our children, distort their identities, and then drain through tax dollars that flow into another economy. So when our children are in these so control over education requires a breaking with this cycle and treating schools as an anchor of economic life for our Black communities. Two examples to show for how this can work on like a practical level is simply food and knowledge production. Imagine we have community control. Sourcing food, we can source our food from local Black farmers and African markets in the area. And this builds connections intercommunally of trust networks. Our children learn nutrition, local ecology, can develop our cultural identity, while local farmers and markets in the area can gain expand logistics, expand farm capacity, and more employment in our communities. Every school meal becomes a reinvestment, essentially, simply by breaking with companies like Sodexo and choosing local African markets and Black farmers. The profits no longer start to excel into Wall Street. And so this isn't even abstract. This alone within our disinvested and underserved communities, localizing food distribution can easily expand 20, 30 jobs within a year alone that are self-sustaining and eligible to our community. Additionally, books, textbooks. New York City schools spends billions of dollars every year on scholastics, Pearsons, and McGraw-Hill. The one note, the depiction of Black history is just slavery, civil rights, and now. My time up? Um, so when we shift to hiring our local Black publishers, we are, as we are seeing in this economy where our academic institutions are mass purging large segments. We need our people who have trained in the education on African history, on Asian histories, on indigenous histories. We need these people who are well learned to come back and teach our communities as they're actively being purged from capitalist institutions that don't see their utility. So with a curriculum that highlights African civilization, indigenous nations, Asian histories, buying from producers that produce these histories rather than these large textbooks. This employs Black researchers, educators, intellectuals who are being pushed out and brings them back into the mold if we're able to have community control over our education. So I not just focus on that, but also on the issues of safety. When schools source locally and generate employment, this reduces reliance on the local illicit economy, which is when people talk about crime and things of this nature. The simple solution is employment apparatuses and building our people into a larger trust network. Trades from markets into our schools, putting more people into the trust system. Lastly, the point, I think also, if we're dealing with issues of employment, we're dealing with issues of crime, the so-called central issues that our community faces. The last one is gentrification. How Black community control over education affects gentrification is in the way that if we control this central economic institution within our community, as newcomers arrive, which they normally displace us, we have the ability to control assimilation and integration of outsiders into our community and seeing what we want out of them for our purposes. We use their tax flow to build our economic institutional network, expand our curriculum. If you have educated whites who are gentrifying Brooklyn, we get rid of mayoral control. Those people cannot function as gentrifiers in a community that we control, and we are using their resources, their knowledge, their taxes to function and build up our community. We get the exact reverse of the situation simply through taking control of these organizations. And I think this is where I'm going to end on why I personally support the efforts of the African People's Socialist Party and the Black is Black Coalition in general, because we can only do this through a centralized, not trying to be over, but we can only do this through a democratic party apparatus that is organized. We need to take control over these institutions. And the school board isn't just a symbolic position. It's a position that people have to run for. People have to sustain organizational efforts to get in and fight these battles to gain control. I think that can only be done through a party such as the African People's Socialist Party. So while we lack the financial capital, we hold enormous educational capital, even just amongst ourselves. And if we seize these opportunities that are available on these local, small-scale democratic institutions, we are able to build the networks, cooperative economics, and infrastructural hubs that cannot be outsourced. So I'll just leave it that if we don't control our education, then we are funding our erasure. And if we fight for our education, then we are fighting for our survival. And that is the simple, important fact of the struggle.
Uhuru, and thank you so very much from the youth and student youth and working group and the education working group. Thank you so much, Uhuru, Uhuru. And the next presentation of the working group will be the healthcare working group, which will be coming from me, and you all know me, Lisa Davis. And Well, I'm good. They know me. They know me. They know, if they don't know me by now, I've been up here all day. We're good. We're good. We like that. But I want to call up one of our strong members of the healthcare working group. I'm so glad she's here. I was surprised that she made it, but she's also been helping very much with putting this together. She's in Lafayette, Louisiana, and this is Jamila Sekman. I want her to stand here with me. Woo, 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 woo. Yes. Okay.
We're supporting.
Fantastic, fantastic. Could you put up the slide that I sent in for the healthcare working group? You should have something there. Thank you. Anyway, I'll just begin to read. Health is point number 14 of this National Black Political Agenda for Self-Determination. And if we are not able to control our health, then we have issues. And one of the things that we must come to terms with is the understanding that this medical profession is as brutal as its police counterpart. It might even have more bodies. And we really have to look at it like this because that is the reality of what happened. It is just the reality of it. And in terms of all of the abuse that happened. So let me just read to you what point number 14 of the healthcare is for us. Point number 14 says free, universal, quality healthcare for all by a public system that serves the health needs of entire communities as well as individuals. Given that group health outcomes are closely linked to healthcare policy, are closely linked to group political and economic status, that's very important, past and present, a universal healthcare policy must provide both equal care to all, regardless of social and financial circumstances, and restorative care to historically oppressed communities, which require political self-determination to achieve social and biological wellness. Also, just before I forget, I got 15 minutes, so please time me, so I probably just ate up 2 of them. Yeah, want to be fair. So, oh, if you want to, you guys can sit right there if you want, yeah, if you'd like to. So, right, it is really important for us to understand this and to also understand that what they call healthcare, what they call proof, what they call healing something, what they call the remedy, or what they call this is what you do, is basically what they define. Colonialism is not just about control over every aspect of our lives, but and not just like about physical control and mental control, but it's also about the ones who get to say what truth even is. And I can really see that playing out in what they call medicine. So I want us to really understand and to appreciate that Africa, which is the area in which the first human beings were there. They weren't just there, but they also thrived. The African continent has the longest uninterrupted lineage on the planet. I think that might be in South Africa, Southern Africa to be exact. But that's not just happenstance. That didn't happen by accident. It happened by their relationship to the earth and to life and how to navigate. So that is something that we need to remember and we need to appreciate it. We need to fight for when we talk about health care. There are systems of health. I personally believe in traditional African medicine. I think it's one of the best systems out there in terms of not just what it talks about with herbs, but also its relationship to wellness, its relationship to the earth, its understanding of how we navigate and how we live on this earth and our relationship to it. And I think that's very important because I think that part tends to be very absent in Western medicine. So we have to, when it comes to liberation, we should also be understanding and studying the traditional African medicines, what that philosophy is, what that means. We also need to understand this much, that it is the traditional African medicines, the plant medicines, and the traditional knowledge of not just the cultures in Africa, but also the indigenous people over here and through other parts of the world that undergirds the pharmaceutical industry, not the opposite way around. Life on Earth, humanity, human life on Earth existed, I'm not even exactly sure of the timeline, I'm just going to throw something out there, hundreds of thousands of years before the European pharmaceutical industry came into existence. That's about 150 years old. But somehow, the Earth sustained life. And even if we look at other systems, such as the marine life, such as life that happens in what they call the wild, somehow this Earth sustains life. And we have to understand that. But even with saying that, I understand, the complications of the world in which we live in, and certainly as Black people here in this colonized, stolen, illegal country, illegal occupation that they call the United States, life is, it's very complex. It's not always easy. And as much as we want to sit up here and say, yes, today, boom, 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 I'm gonna walk up there and it's just gonna be African everything for me. The reality of the systems that we are working with does not allow us to really operate completely like that, although that is the goal. But we have, in other words, we have to move within these systems. And unlike the police, which many times we don't ask a damn thing, we ain't doing a damn thing, and they come at us, the medical profession is not like that for the most part. We usually go to them because we are seeking help, we need assistance. Sometimes something happens to us physically. So we have to be prepared to deal with this system in a way that's very realistic, and also with the understanding and with the patience and with the love and with the embracing of we are where we are in terms of our understanding of things. Some of us have different levels of understanding. Some of us are more comfortable with working with what I call allopathic healthcare, and others are not. But the healthcare working group is there for all of us, all of us. We might have professionals who work in the Western medical system, and certainly if they are of the mindset that they want to challenge what is going on and that they know that something is wrong, yes, we can utilize them as well. We have to be able to navigate properly through these systems. And I know that one of the things is affordability. Yes. Affordability. Yes. So I want us to understand this much, that healthcare is about affordability, because it's also about being able to have the insurance, but it's how we define certain things. It's how we even define what health care is, and we have the right to say that. But still, no matter what, we have to have a system that will work for the people, a system so that if somebody cannot afford something, nobody should ever be afraid to go to the hospital. Nobody should ever be afraid that, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I can't afford to live if I got to choose this. I got to choose this medicine. How am I going to afford to do that? Nobody should ever have to worry about that. And also, let me just say this much too, with all these raids going on, nobody should be afraid to ever have to worry about where they're going to go, or if they have to go to the hospital, because they might be locked up and deported. That's just a barbaric, savage system way of doing things. I had to say that. But one of the things, if you go to the next slide, because, and this is where we get input from each other. Sister Betty had said to me, Lisa, there's so much going on. People are so afraid of what's going on with Trump and the cutbacks and all of that. What you gonna do? Well, you gotta do something. And I'm like, yeah, we gotta also make sure that we are talking about those things as well, that we are talking about and investigating and looking into systems. And sometimes, because everything is as we learn and as we are trying to understand and unfold and understand these complexities as well, we will just put it out there. So if you go to the next slide, we have begun to develop resources, right, that people can utilize. And let me just say this much right here, that this is not necessary. Don't take these as like an endorsement from the Black is Back Coalition, but we have to provide our people, as we are navigating these systems, as we are trying to figure things out, certain resources that are there. So you please look at them. You might find some things that we can use, maybe not. But again, it's not like we're saying, oh gosh, this is it. But we want our people to be informed. We have to be able to research. So I'm going to make sure that these resources are available. But one of them is Fight the Insurance Company. FightTheInsurance.com. And they get into how to appeal health insurance denials. Then another resource right there comes from the government, how to appeal insurance company decisions and insurance claim denials, and how to write an appeal letter and things of that nature. And I'll just say this much. Several years back, during the height of COVID, we had a comrade who had to have an amputation unexpectedly. And he had been in a hospital system. And what they called healthcare, now this guy, a relatively young guy, and it was during the height of COVID, and he lived by himself, leg amputation. What they called healthcare, they're like, okay, well, we worked with him for 2 weeks, he's gonna go home now. And I'm like, what? What do you mean he's gonna go home now? They're like, no, we made the decision, he's going home now. And I'm like, no, he's not going home now. And so the doctor, one of the people said to me that I was talking to, because he had given me permission to be able to speak, on his behalf or with him. And he's like, but you don't understand. The doctor said that they're ready to release him. And I was like, I understood what you said, and we disagree with that. You're not going to release him now. And we literally had to put up a fight. And we're going learning, what to do. But every letter, we sent out so many letters, and we made sure that when we sent these letters out, that we copied every organization within the Black is Back Coalition. So we was like sending it to the Black is Back Coalition, but then made sure to CC every organization on this, in addition to congressmen, this one, that one, city councilmen, all the people that we could send it to, and we continued to fight. They were going to release him without even a prosthetic leg yet. And we fought. Oh, 5 minutes, okay. And if you got to yell it at me, yell it at me. But we fought. And let me tell you, they acquiesced, and we didn't have a lot of time. We did not have a lot of time. They're looking at me. This was like on a Monday, and they're talking about they were going to throw him out in like within 2 days or whatever. But we fought it. And they said that his insurance had denied it. We fought it all the way without even understanding these resources. So I just want to say that sometimes that is what you have to do, sometimes. But we want to make sure that we are building a collective within the healthcare working group. Some people might be very good at insurance. You could join the healthcare working group if you would like to, if you have the heart, and if you want to make sure that it happens. You can do that. Could you go to the next slide, please? And oh gosh, I am not good at PowerPoint, as you can see. So don't judge the presentation, please, because that is so often. Oh my gosh, in terms of that's all on me. But again, these are some things, Medicare resources, because we know the issue of Medicare comes up a lot, and they want to cut back on that. We also know Medicaid is another issue. We're going to make sure that we do more research and put that out there so that our people can understand that, yes, we can fight. But Medicare, and a lot of people don't understand, and we're going to get into this more, though maybe not right now, but there's a difference between what they call regular Medicare and Medicare Advantage. Basically, they privatized Medicare. They privatized it. They did it right under our noses and privatized it. And so many times when we are being denied Medicare, I had this situation with my mother. It's not traditional Medicare, it's Medicare Advantage, which sounds so nice. It sounds so nice. But Medicare Advantage is privatized Medicare, and it's also a lot of fraud and everything. So I'm not telling people what to do, but we should understand the difference between Medicare, traditional Medicare, and Medicare Advantage. And if you look at some of these things, they will tell you that. I just want to tell you about one agency that I did work with, and this is the Center for Medicare Advocacy. When I used their tools. And one time, about 10 years ago, when my mother had to be in a rehab, they threw her out. They don't discharge us, they throw us out. And basically told us my mother needed a certain kind of care, and they did not provide the adequate resources that we needed. And I was told that Medicare is not going to cover it. I didn't know then about this Medicare toolkit. I didn't understand then about HMOs and Medicare Advantage. But when I was able to get this Medicare toolkit that you'll see, I think it's the second one right there, but it's in one of them sources. They explained how they were deliberately denying people home health care, lying to people and telling them that they did not qualify when they did. And they said, if you go through these steps, this toolkit, you can get it. I was able to apply that for other people because there was another person in Newark and they're talking about she can't get home health care and all this kind of stuff. And she really needed it. She had been in a fire. She was losing her vision. With that toolkit, I'm like, oh yeah, she can get it. I was able to immediately, they gave it to her like that. So we want to build this, we want to build the Black is Back Coalition, and we want to build this healthcare working group as well. And we want our people to know, you ain't gonna do what you think you're gonna do. Another time, just real quickly, I'll conclude with this. Our comrades in Philadelphia, when the healthcare working group first came into existence, we got a call about how they had kidnapped a baby, really. Someone had sickle cell anemia and she ended up having the baby in Philadelphia, and they immediately took this newborn baby and began to give the baby morphine injections, and they took out an Amber Alert against the baby's family, her parents, her mother. And they said, we're taking this baby for the most part. Thanks to our comrades in Philadelphia, because I couldn't even get to Philadelphia myself at that point when I wanted to. We began to organize. We had demonstrations consistently, and the family was very supportive. We were able to get that baby released at least within 2 weeks' time, if not before then. Uhuru. So yeah, that's who we are. That's what we believe in. We have to come into our own in all kinds of ways. We have a wonderful, traditional, glorious legacy in terms of health and healing. And I can tell you right now, so much of that way works. I can tell you personally. But again, we have to also understand, have the heart and the love for our comrades as we are coming through these systems, because sometimes you might need to go to the hospital. And I told one person one time was being sarcastic with me, because, oh, well, wait until you need it, doctor. I said, first of all, I know what you mean by that sarcasm. That's completely unnecessary. But if I ever need a doctor, I'm gonna go, I'll go to that hospital and I expect them to do this. And it's really that simple. Yes. We don't have to relinquish who we are. And Uhuru. And certainly, if, like I said, if you work for that profession, if you got a good heart and you know you want to do better for our people, you can join the healthcare working group. We got respect for all that have respect for us in our different ways. And Uhuru! Uhuru! Black is back. Oh. Now I'm up here to introduce, I was about to go sit down, but I'm like, wait a minute. I got to introduce the next person. And I got it right here. And the next person that will be coming to us is Brother Zaki Baruti. And also during these presentations, oh yes, and thank you so much to my comrades right here. During these presentations with the working groups, we each got 15 minutes. I forgot to announce that. But Brother Zaki Baruti, he is he graduated from Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville, major master's education. He's a former educated 33 years and a union activist. He is the author of 2 educational booklets, Challenge the Building of a Clean, Prosperous Black Community Through Our Educational System, as opposed to the conspiracy, and Challenge Part 2, Can We Do It? He is a former political action chairperson of the East St. Louis chapter of the Black United Front, distributor of the Black Panther Party newspaper. He was also a Democratic Party candidate for governor of Missouri in 1984 and 1988. And without further ado, Brother Zaki Baruti out of St. Louis, who also, let me tell you, because you all heard about the Uhuru 3 and what they tried to do to him. I got the call that day about they had just invaded, raided the chairman. And within 2 hours of that call, I'm looking and I see this press conference happening, and Brother Zaki Baruti was right there by the chairman's side from day one. And also when the chairman had even come into St. Louis prior to that, when for the murder of Michael Brown, from day one, Brother Zaki Baruti was solid, hands down. Brother Zaki Baruti, Uhuru! Uhuru!
Uhuru, Uhuru, Black Power, Assalamu alaikum. Let me just say, first and foremost, it's on behalf of the Universal African Peoples Organization, which I represent. I just want to say that this gathering is so powerful that I just want to salute the organizers as well as I want to just say a special shout out to the sisters of the Black Lives Back Coalition that are so powerful. Sister Lisa Davis, Sister Belinda Parker, Betty Davis, Sister Nkenge, Penny Hass, and others as part of the Black is Back Coalition. Number one, uh, I am very inspired. First of all, let me just also digress and just say that our organization will be renewing our membership, Universal African Peoples Organization, with the Black is Back Coalition. And I'm just so very stimulated by the theme that has been chosen for this gathering, which is don't agonize, organize. And I say that because, as I had made mention yesterday in the comment session, that back in 1994, I was a delegate to another gathering of Pan-Africanists and progressive people that met in Uganda, Kampala, Uganda. And the theme was organize, don't agonize. So it's a historical take on what we're doing right now as a continuation, ongoing continuation to put a stake, like when you're looking at the Dracula movies, into the heart of colonialism, to put an end for the sake of humanity. And I just want to read from the front page of our newspaper at that time, which was the spring edition in 1984. The major theme of the 7th Pan-African Congress held in Kampala, Uganda. Representing the Universal African Peoples Organization, President General Zaki Baruti was one of more than 1,000 delegates from the diaspora and Africa who attended the 7th Pan-African Congress held in Kampala, Uganda, April the 2nd through April the 8th. Invited participants were political parties, trade unions, student and youth groups, liberation movements, farmers and peasant organizations, religious movements, and African and third world governments. These delegates came from countries in North and South America, the Caribbean, Asia, Europe, and of course, Africa. They represented a wide range of philosophies, ideologies, and religious affiliations. However, most delegates were there with a single-minded purpose of trying to develop a program to unite people of African descent throughout the world. The theme of this historic gathering was appropriately titled, Facing the Future in Unity, Social Progress, and Democracy. The motto was, Organize, Don't Agonize. And to that end, too, I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge some of the warriors of that time from the United States that was in attendance. And in this movement for liberation, we need inspiration to keep in the fight. And some of these brothers were very inspiring to me. They have transitioned, most of them, and that included Brother Emiri Obadali, one of the founders of the Republic of New Africa, Chokwe Lumumba, who was one of the organizers of the Malcolm X grassroots movement, as well as the New African People's Organization. And to that end, also, I want to salute Brother Muhammad, one of the attorneys, because it is in the spirit of Chokwe that he was really outstanding as I attended the trial against the Uhuru 3. Also, Brother Kwame Ture of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and as well as Rosie Douglas. And I just want to make mention of him. He was a revolutionary out of the island of Dominica, who he ended up becoming first of all, he was organizer for the World Mataba, which was organized in Libya under the leadership of Muammar Gaddafi. And he became prime minister, but died within 8 months of him taking office. And now, from a perspective of conspiracy theories, I think some kind of way they probably poisoned him, as well as Chokwe Lumumba dying very early as mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, because we know that we're dealing with a very evil system of colonialism. Also, Brother Akbar Muhammad, who I like to also salute because he was the international representative of the Nation of Islam. I just want to acknowledge freedom fighters who I've been blessed to interact with. Another thing that I would like to do real quick is under the for our newspaper, we have a section that's called the Task Ahead, which I pen and address the different issues impacting us. And the theme for that was organize, don't agonize. And this is what I said at that time in 1994. Having recently attended the 7th Pan-African Congress held in Kampala, Uganda, has truly inspired me, just as this event today is inspiring me, and motivated my commitment to continue advocating the motto of this historic gathering: organize, don't agonize. In my humble opinion, this topic that was projected to more than 1,000 progressive Black delegates from across the globe is a very simple but real and necessary message that must begin to take hold in our communities. This message must become part of our reality if, as a people, we are going to transform the many negative social realities that we face each and every day. No matter as Black people, if we live in Soweto, South Africa, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, London, England, Lagos, Nigeria, Chicago, Illinois, or New York, or even St. Louis, Missouri, or Kingston, Jamaica. One thing is for sure: the masses of our people are suffering in 1994 as they're suffering in 2025. This suffering takes on many forms such as unemployment, poor health care, homelessness, AIDS, drug and alcohol addiction, police violence, the senseless killing of each other, the lack of proper education, etc., and etc. In most instances, nationally and internationally, the hand of racism and colonialism plays a direct and indirect role in our sad state of affairs. However, as the theme vividly indicates, we will, as a people, continue to cry crocodile. Now, as the theme vividly indicates, will we, as a people, continue to cry crocodile tears about our conditions and become constant complainers and agonizers? Or, for the salvation of the race, will we simply organize to solve our problems? Historically, there are a number of examples of people organizing en masse to change their faith. Several clear examples include China, Iran, Cuba, and at that time, Libya. In places such as Mozambique, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, and Zimbabwe, our brothers and sisters have made gallant efforts to organize, but reactionary forces, the Uncle Toms, funded by racist elements, have too many times slowed the progress of our movements. But again, for the salvation of the race, the road to bringing about a substantial transformation of our people's lives must continue to move forward. So I salute this effort again that we're doing today. With this movement going forward, we must recognize that no matter where we live, people of African descent have a common bond cemented by a common oppression and a common solution. That solution being organization, organization, organization. Therefore, if you are not about the business of joining with others in a serious organizing effort to uplift the race, then we must say that rather than being part of the solution, you are part of the problem. Again, our problems will always be with us until we begin to implement the theme of the 7th Pan-African Congress, organize, don't agonize, and of this gathering in New Orleans, that don't agonize, organize. So I just wanted to make that known. Also, I'm just so proud of the Black is Back Coalition that most recently, in our most recent edition of our newspaper, we had the article which I know one of the speakers on the program was speaking in terms of the need for Africa to have a revolution where we can have a united Africa under the principles of socialism. So we have to support those movements that is about the principle of transformation. And in our newspaper, we had the article from the Black is Back. The Black is Back Coalition stands in solidarity with Captain Ibrahim Traore and the Alliance of the Sahel States and calls for the abolishment of Afrikaan. And one of the things that we all recognize is that we got a lot of bootlicking Negro faces of neocolonialism. And one of them was that I think Lieutenant General of the Icon, I can't remember his name, who tried to crack on Captain Traore. And I just wanted to highlight some of the great work that Captain Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. Number one, and ideally that should be happening all across Africa, he banned French military operations in Burkina Faso. He banned the French media. He expelled French troops from the region. He outlawed the export of gold dust and has taken steps to nationalize and control the country's gold mining industry, which was previously controlled by foreign investments. This has increased the value of gold for the country by 7 times. It plans to use the profits from gold to finance infrastructure, health, and educational projects, none of which was done by direct French colonialism. And again, that comes from the Black is Back article around supporting what is taking place in the Alliance of Sahel States. He invested heavily in agriculture by giving over 1,000 tractors and other equipment to local farmers. And that's his effort at creating food self-sufficiency. He created tomato processing plants and increasing tomato production. He also is building an airport in the major city capital of Burkina Faso. And he has implemented prison reform projects in which 3 months taken off the sentences of inmates for every month they work on decolonizing agricultural projects. And he created electric cars under his leadership. And that bootlicker was Langley. I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Langley. And I cited that because with what we all know is that this country under colonialism is a very wicked, evil system. And this is our duty. And I always say, and I failed to mention, my prayers go out to Chairman Omali Yesateli, because we both commonly always say we got to have liberation in our lifetime. So this is a kickoff again that it's a challenge for us to organize the masses of our people. And in organizing the masses of our people, I have emphatically stated, and that's part of one of our stated goals for the Universal African Peoples Organization. We'd like to have a membership of 144,000 plus of like-minded people who can agree to our platform and the platform of the Black is Back Coalition. But we do need some armies to bring about the kind of change that needs to happen. With a fight, recognizing that we got to struggle within the confines of this system, as well as have an international perspective. So in closing, also I have been asked to address the concept of proportionate political representation, which is dealing with politics, which of course will not bring about the kind of substantive change that we need, but is a place of struggle that we need to engage in. Would it not be nice that we had many members of the Black is Back Coalition as governors of states, so then you can free the political prisoners of those states by issuing executive orders of pardons. But proportionate political representation as a form of struggle simply means that wherever percentage we are as a people on the national, state, and local levels of government, then we should have that percentage of power, meaning that they project we're 14 to 15% of the power. Of the over 500,000 elected positions in this country, then we should have at least 15%. But the reality as I close, we are far from that. In the United States Senate, out of 100 senators, 5 look like us, and many of them not conscious, as we already know. Then it should be, according to our percentage, at least 15. Of governorships, there's 50. Of those numbers, only 1 look like us. And again, not the conscious level that we need. So moving forward, I'm issuing a challenge to everybody in attendance. We got to hype the game up. We got to hype the game up and get more people involved to bring about a change and an end to colonialism, capitalism, for the sake of humanity. Thank you.
I'd like to say his last name. Say his last name. Baruti.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Uhuru, brother Zaki Baruti. Thank you so much. He does such excellent work. He's also got a dynamic website, uapo.org, and they produce a wonderful newspaper. So please support and please follow him as well. Our next presenter is our brother. He happens to be from New Jersey, although he lives in California now, but is Daoud Khaliq. Oh, he was born and raised in Jersey City, and he's a graduate from New Jersey City University. While there, he worked with the Black Student Union Organization, the Black Freedom Society, and the local chapter of the Black Panther Party on their breakfast program. Soon after graduating in 1975, he moved to California and became involved with Unity in Action and SWAPO Support Committee, the Malcolm X grassroots movement, and in 2000, he became a charter member of the Reparations United Front. He is also a member of the JOKO Collective and is enthusiastic about his role as chair of the Black is Back Coalition's Reparations Working Group. Brother Daoud, woo, woo, woo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Uhuru.
All right then. All right then. Let's see. Okay, going to talk about reparations here for a few minutes, and I just want to like piggyback off of what Brother Zaki was saying about having more people working together for one goal. And right now, the reparations movement is sort of at a standstill. Not too much going on. You don't hear about it too much in the news here recently. So we have to do something about that. We have to make some strides forward, okay? Our present state as a people is due to a lack of forward thinking, of progressive thinking, and our inability to see each other as human beings that should love each other and learn how to unify. I mean, unification is the one thing that will save us, you know. As I see it, the reparations movement has come a long way since the year 2000, when I first became involved with the Reparations United Front. In 2023 and 2024, more states and cities have come to take on the reparations issue and have put reparations laws or regulations on their books. So, but it's up to the local activists, you know, to push that line. Now we still have a long way to go. The last state to put reparations on their book was the state of New York. If the movement is to become more successful, there are a few things that must happen. It may take a while, but it must be done. We have to continue to build the movement by, number one, the movement must become more unified. All reparations organizations must unify into one national reparations organization with various locations across the nation. That means in all the major cities of each state. So we should have like a reparations organization in each state, one or two, you know, maybe three, depending on like the population of each of those cities that has like, you know, Black people in it. A common agreed upon definition of what reparations is and must be adopted by national reparations orgs and promoted as such. Develop a reparations education. Number three, develop a reparations education information arm to further educate and inform the general public so that news, mis and disinformation becomes non-existent and can no longer confuse the issue. The reparations movement must develop an active legal arm. There must be a clear definition as to who will be paying the reparations and who will be receiving the reparations. A legal research team is necessary because the main battle for reparations will be fought in the courts. The plaintiffs are the American-born African descendants, and the defendants are the American government and their historical and present-day business partners. After it is researched and solidified, we will have legal standing to push our case forward. So that's going to be a big part right there, is developing like a legal team and whatnot, you know, to become like a major part of the movement. It must be made clear that the above offenders are ones to be held responsible for paying reparations. More importantly, it must be clearly understood by all parties, reparations cannot and will not be a one and done payment to any one person or group. Going forward, the reparations must be established as payments lasting for the benefit of the succeeding generations and as long as the enslavement experience did. Funds must be paid to communities to rebuild them. Finally, to start the reparations org's unification process, we must develop and hold what I would call the National Reparations Congress, or NRC2. The first one was back in, I think, May of 1984 at Compton College. I don't know, maybe some of y'all were there. But at Compton College, they had the first NRC, National Reparations Congress in Compton, California. All reparations organizations must meet, dialogue, organize, and push the movement forward in a unified manner. All petty differences must be set aside, and plans as to how we can advance the movement must be decided and acted upon in unity. There are projects I will work at. These are projects that I will work at to bring into existence in 2025 once we pull the reparations working group back together. a while back, let me see, what was it? Maybe a month or two ago, I sent out a letter to as many addresses as I could get. And thanks Sister Kenge for provide me with some of those addresses. But a lot of those addresses were people who were reparations activists or came to a BIBC program and showed interest in reparations. So I sent that letter out twice, and both times, through both times, and I only got maybe 4 people to respond. That's kind of disheartening. So, moving forward, I'm going to have to intensify, the message, I guess, and try to get some more people or find some more people who are interested in reparations. See, there are projects I will work at to bring into existence the 24-25 to the reparations work back, to bring the reparations working group back together. Remember, there's only 2 things left. That is the truth and reparations. And I say reparations now in memory of our ancestors. So if you want to find out about reparations, there's some books that I can show you that you need to read to learn about reparations. And these are all by different authors. And the first one I would say would be this one right here by Dr. Rayford Logan, Betrayal of the Negro, right here. And this is about the history of around the Civil War times and after the Civil War in the South, and just Black people wherever they landed, nationally, and found themselves living in communities and things like that, and going through various stages of the defeat and triumph in their day-to-day lives. It's a good book. Okay. Oh yeah. Next one is 100 Years of Lynchings. This book here is, hard to read. You're going to be crying. You're going to be angry about all the atrocities that was done to us and whatnot, over so many years, right up to today. And that's by Ralph Ginsberg. Next one is by Dr. Claude Anderson. This is called Black Labor, White Wealth. Now, that title says everything, because that, the white man was making all his money through our labor, which was never paid for. This is a book that you got to read, because this, addresses reparations, front and center. So you pick that up and educate yourself on reparations. This next one is by a member of, let's see, what party is that? One of those left-leaning parties and whatnot that is on the East Coast. But it's by Sister Monica Mead, and it's called Marxism, Reparations, and the Black Freedom Struggle. This one right here. Okay? So, take your time and see if you can run these books down. I can, put a list of them in the chat if you like. And, further educate yourself on reparations. And this is the book right here that more or less started the modern day reparations off, to a good start. The Debt by Randall Robinson. got to get this book because, you know, this is like the foundation and whatnot of the present day reparations movement. Okay. So bottom line, we have to unify more than anything else in order to get all this going. And we have to meet with each other and plan and organize and strategize. And from this point on, I'm going to work till it happens and whatnot to get us all in the same room nationally, you know, across like, you know, the nations are going to get every address of every reparations organization and every reparations worker and see if we can, like, you know, put together the plan for the National Reparations Congress #2. It's very important that we do that. You know, I don't know what else to say except that, you know, it's time. You know, we ain't got forever to be getting it together. We got to do something with this issue. If we really want to see it, then we got to work harder at it, become more organized, strategize more, trust each other, love each other, uphold each other, defend each other, and just take, you know, some time every day and whatnot to learn more about reparations if you don't know, okay? Uhuru. Reparations now, memory of our ancestors.
Uhuru! Uhuru! Just so you all know, when you guys are speaking online, we respond in the background in the room, but we're muted, but we be responding. And thank you so much, Brother Daoud. We appreciate that so greatly. The next presentation is a recording, a video done by the JOKO Collective. And the JOKO Collective is a group of grassroots organizers. I think most of them are based in California, but who are also dedicated to informing our people and education and, you know, all those kind of wonderful things. Do we have the video queued up?
Don't agonize, organize. When we fight, we win. I'm Brother Yusef of the JOKO Collective, and with me is Tasha.
Greetings, everybody.
Don't agonize, organize. But let me flip that. Because we agonize, we should organize. Because people are in agony. People are suffering. People have been suffering. And now that suffering is intensified under an openly white nationalist, Christian nationalist, moribund capitalist regime. So we want to recognize that people are suffering. And it's because we agonize that we need to be organizing. Right? Because the way to end the agony is through our organization to overthrow the regimes, the structures, the relationships that are at the root of our agony. So because we agonize, let us organize.
Don't agonize, organize. Remember to confront and debunk the lie we tell on ourselves to each other. The Black people can't work together myth, you know the one. The crabs in a bucket myth, that we can't get organized myth. I hear it a lot, it's very popular. Instead, breathe some life into the suppressed histories of rebellions, for instance, of enslaved Africans throughout the diaspora, the building of maroon societies, of quilombos, of palenques that stood resilient against the military capacity of enslaving European nations, some standing, though materially impoverished, to this day. Cite for our people the incredible dynamism with which we, after emancipation, built towns across the US during and post-Reconstruction. Post out the numerous collectives that we organized to strategize for power and safety in the new context of citizenship. Point out to our traditions of organizing for social justice across the political spectrum, from reform to radical insurgency. Point out that Black people in the US have been most consistently pro-union group, the most consistently pro-union group in the workplace, willing to organize for protection of all people from abuse and exploitation. Tell them that a small group of Black feminist, socialist, and mostly lesbian activists organized themselves outside the boundaries of civil rights and white feminist movements and composed the Combahee River Collective Statement, which birthed a whole new concept and approach to liberatory organizing in and of itself.
Don't agonize, organize. We need to organize to meet the moment. And it's a different moment. What's unique about the moment, when we look at it, right? The rapprochement between the sectors of the ruling class has broken down. They are not trying to rule in partnership. One party is doing everything it can to seize control and hold that control, and the other party is still trying to play by old rules on the one hand, and on the other hand, suppressing those who are trying to shake it up. The Trump regime's policies, actions, cuts, tariffs, etc., are extremely unpopular. They grow more and more unpopular every day. And despite that unpopularity, the Democratic Party remains even less popular. Right? So that partnership, the duopoly, is really breaking down. As whatever rapprochement they had, the various sectors of the ruling class is broken down as they're in their own struggle for hegemony, with this open rule of billionaires and oligarchs. The Democratic Party is unable to meet the moment without being transformed in some kind of way, either into the dustbin of history or something completely new that it is unable to imagine right now. The moment is ripe. And it's in these moments of rupture that we are able to make advance. One major example is the kind of rupture that followed World War II. And I hesitate because World War II can't really be understood in isolation from the imperialist World War I, right? So these wars to redivide the world, which really many historians are saying you got to see as one war now, really, right? What did Eugen Weber call it? The Second 30 Years War, I think he called it something like that. But the rupture that it created, it certainly created the space for the U.S. hegemony to emerge, but it also, the instability created the space for the liberation movements of the mid-20th century to emerge. The African world, the Asian world, Latin America. The disruption of World War I that helped set some of the conditions for the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik revolution to emerge. So we have to, as the Panthers used to say in the 1960s, right? Seize the time. It's time to organize, recognize the moment, rise to the moment, organize for victory. Don't agonize, organize.
Don't agonize, organize. Recognize that it's Black people's organized demand for academic space as Black studies that inspired our allies to ignite disciplines, Chicano studies, so-called Native American studies, Asian American studies, women's studies, gender studies, and so on. And that has led in the last 57 years to the successful subverting of core white supremacist narratives. In fact, it is this very work that has thrown empire into its current frenzy for control of educational content that recaptures the imagination of its subjects. They are on the defense because we organized for true narratives.
We are the JOKO Collective, and we say, don't agonize,
organize.
Organize. When we
When
fight,
we win.
we win.
Uhuru. Wow. What an excellent presentation by the JOKO Collection. We really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for that presentation. Don't agonize, organize. So our next presenter is going to be a young man that I so very much appreciate. And he's been here with us all day. You know, people have been coming and leaving, and I'm just telling you, this have been just such a dynamic conference, and it's so impactful. It's so much information. And I just want him to come, Brother Akeem Victor, and introduce yourself and tell us your story. Just tell the people what you want them to know.
Our ancestors have started something that we must continue.
Got that right.
I am a catalyst. My name is Akeem Victor. I am from Algiers. I am from Louisiana. I am from New Orleans. I'm a native Louisianian. I have been across this vast space of tyranny, of oppression, and have overcame it. We've been so oppressed, so marginalized, yet we still have position. We still have a newness. And as an individual, I am a catalyst. I am one who has been incarcerated. I am one who has been in the streets. Amongst those who have been underestimated. And we're seeking, I've heard several people reference armies. And today I am here to reassure you that those that are not amongst us right now are out there.
All right. All right.
They are working. They are waiting for us because agony is not our truest nature.
Woo.
We are a people that have endured. We are people who have overcome. We are people who have manifested greatness from every point in every aspect of this culture. This culture is definitely a visualization of who we are. Therefore, it's only right that we take what we need from it to give back our future, to give our children a future, to give our families a future and a hope. Taking the socioeconomic stance of those who have understood. I myself, I am a consultant. I write grants for nonprofit organizations. I also am a plumber. I also write. I also sing. Like, we are kings and priests. We don't have one mediocre, marginalized nature. Therefore, I am here to call those who have been forsaken, that feel like they're forsaken, and we work together, not just in colleges, not just in education, but throughout the whole diaspora, through those that have been marginalized, and taking back our identity by giving the truth of we can have economic empowerment.
Yes.
We can build our own schools. We can have our own schools. We can have our own hospitals. We have countless intellectuals, countless scholars. We just have to do exactly what we're doing here right now and organize. Speaking about the medical institutions, speaking about each and every technological institution. Our next endeavor is to bring together those who can actually infiltrate and begin our own data centers, to begin our own technology courses, to get certifications within our own infrastructure. Therefore, we can have our own resources. And these things, like, they're not afar off. We have access to them today, right now. In the school system, in the secondary school system, and amongst those that are disenfranchised. We don't have to have their credentials. We can create our own. We don't have to have their identity. We have our own. And I am just grateful as a human being, as a young man, to be in this position today, because nothing can actually stop us. It can only enhance us. Whatever types of adverse situations they try to throw at us, whether it can be any type of tactic of undercutting your responsibilities, undercutting who you are as a person, assassinating characters, those things don't attain to who we truly are, who we know that we are. Therefore, working with people that have been incarcerated, me, myself, as a mentor through the New Orleans Theological Baptist Seminary, it's different being a mentor to those who have seen so much destruction in their home lives. Giving them a hope, it takes something more than just talking. Therefore, I congratulate each and every person who is here working for freedom, who is out here in the stratas, taking the information and using it for the resources that we definitely need as a people. There's someone near you that actually has to have what you have. And we are here to give it. Black is back. It never went anywhere.
Woo!
Uhuru, freedom. Freedom. It's more than just a word. It's more than just an ideal. Therefore, we will take it and we will walk in it. And I believe that's my time.
Thank you. All right. All right.
Uhuru, I also just want to give a special shout out to our brother Akeem and to all those who also joined in the the calls that we had in terms of helping to build this and helping to make this a success. I want to say that we notice you, we appreciate you, and we thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. Our next presenter is, hold on one second, I just had this. Please bear with me a moment. Brother Kamm Howard. I know he's in the room, right? In the Zoom room? Yeah. Okay, I just had this in front of me. Oh, and Brother Kamm, we got us Mama in the room from Cobra. Yes, we do. Our next presenter, me and Brother we've worked with in COBRA as well. Brother Kamm Howard is an MBA. He is with Reparations United. He is an MBA and is a national and internationally known reparations activist, former national in COBRA. While at COBRA 2006 to 2022, he insisted in forming the vision and developed, led, and implemented many actions in the reparations movement. In addition, Kamm is a commissioner of the National African American Reparations Commission, where he led in revising the federal legislation HR 40. He sits on the boards of First Repair, founded by Robin Rue Simmons of Evanston, Illinois, and Global Black was started by Dr. Amara Inya. Additionally, he sits on the advisory council of the African American Redress Network. Brother Kamm Howard, Uhuru!
Uhuru, Brother Kamm! Uhuru family, it is a pleasure to be here at the 17th annual Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations Convention, Conference and Convention. It is a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to actually go behind the young brother who just spoke, who's extremely inspiring, and just thoroughly enjoyed his presentation, as well as all of the other presentations that were shared today and for the last 2 days. So Uhuru family, I'm gonna share my screen for a second. I want to tackle this question. Are reparations from the federal government possible now? That question is one that is being posed right now, and I want to take a couple of minutes to just speak to it. I have quite a few slides, so I'm going to try to rush through them very quickly to try to answer this question. On not only the theorizing the reparations, but what we can actually do in practicality around federal reparations. This question is being asked everywhere, and for the most part, it's not being answered correctly, I don't think. During the current political climate with Donald Trump in the White House and the legislative branch and the judicial branches of the federal government solidly in the hands of conservative right-wing leadership, as is the executive branch. However, thoughts of achieving federal redress at this time is seen as an impossibility, and therefore there's tremendous amount of attention being applied at the state and local efforts. And I share with Brother Daoud, who says there's not much going on in the reparations movement, but to clarify that, there's not much going on in the reparations movement when it's targeted toward federal redress. But state and locally, there's a lot of activity, and a lot of people, funders and leaders within the movement have seen that, are saying to themselves that federal redress, we're just going to stay away from it at this time. And I think that's a monumental error. At the 9th Electoral Candidate School of the Black is Back Coalition in April, I shared this PowerPoint, Democracy, Redress, and Donald Trump. I got a call in January from Chairman Amali Yeshatella and asked me, would I prepare a presentation and speak to these three issues, democracy, redress, and Donald Trump. And from that particular presentation, I began to think a little bit more deeper about reparations in the era of Trump. And on August 1st, we had a national webinar called Federal Redress in the Era of Trump, Why It's Possible, How We Achieve It, and What You Must Do to help make it happen, and subtitled Imagine Victory. My thinking at the time, based on what we shared at the Electoral Candidate School and research after that, was that it is totally possible and achievable, and we can make it happen. There were 217 registrants for that webinar. 124 came on, and probably 120 stayed on for the entire 2 hours and 5 minutes. So people were very engaged. From that 120 plus, we have 23 people who have joined what we call the Federal Redress Advancement Network. So we choose to answer that question, is federal redress possible at this time? We say yes. We have to do it through a structure. And we've created the structure of the Network for Advancing Federal Reparations through the executive departments of the United States government, or the Federal Redress Advancement Network, or FRAN. And that's our logo that we had developed for this particular campaign. And what we based this particular strategy on was a series of facts. And there were 6. I'm not going to share all 6 sets of facts that I shared at the webinar, but a few of them. Number one, what is the Trump era? The Trump era is an era of intensified neo-apartheid, intensified neo-colonialism, if you like to use that word. And you see that with what's happening in Los Angeles. In Washington, D.C., with the state occupation of and takeover of the police force. We believe that the Trump era is going to last longer than his presidency. We believe that because of the Democrats' loss of the Black vote, which was key to every Democratic victory in the last 40 years, there have been 20 years of Democratic Party leadership at the executive level, and none of those years would have happened if it wasn't for the Black vote. And we tried to point that out in the last election, but the Black bourgeoisie middle class was not hearing us, and as a result, they didn't move on reparations, as we told them that would be the only thing to bring Black people back into the party or keep them or bring them back out to vote. They ignored us, and that we have Trump in the White House, and we think that the Trump era will last about 20 years. So what is our response? Do we give up? Do we continue to do the same thing, or do we adapt and improvise? And our next fact sheet was that we adapt and improvise. We don't let no one white man in power tell us when and when we cannot organize to demand redress and repair for our people. And that's what many of these Black bourgeois leaders want us to do, is just sit back and wait until another white man get in office. And we say that's not happening. Fact number 3 is that Trump is a transactional president. If you look at Donald Trump, everything he does is about the deal. I read his book, The Art of the Deal, back in the late 80s. And everything that man is today, he was back then. Everything to him is an interaction, is a transaction. And our goal is to make reparations be transactional, one where this government and Trump can get something out of it. And if we can show benefit to him from reparations at the executive level, I believe he's all in, based on everything you see him doing currently. He has no friends, he has no enemies. America's most loyal friends in the past, NATO and Britain and the United Kingdom and Europe, he's put the same type of pressures on them as he's done on those who are said to be America's enemies, like Russia, China, and North Korea. And we know that Trump is dealing very favorably with those states who are supposed to be enemies of the United States, but because he knows there's a deal that can be made. And that's the key thing that we need to take away from Trump. Yes, he's a racist. Yes, he's a white supremacist. Yes, he's a narcissist and all those other things. But more important than that, he's a transactional character. Another set of facts was the changing attitudes about reparations in this country. In 2024, Liberation Ventures put a poll out on reparations, a series of questions. And one of the questions was, are you in favor, do you support, or are you opposed to a reparations commission, or are you neutral? Are you in support, opposed, or neutral to a reparations commission? And I had the privilege of having a 2019 Huffington Post poll that wasn't published, but the brother who was working with them at the time shared that poll with me, and they asked the same question in 2019. So I compared the answers from 2019 to 2024, and what we see is a tremendous shift in attitudes around a reparations commission among all of Americans, Black, white, Democrat, and Republican. I'm not going to go through this whole chart, but I'll make it available to anybody. But in 2019, of course, 76% of Blacks supported reparations, 94% in 2024, 19% increase. Whites at that time, 43% of whites in total. Today, 2024, 66%. a 35% increase. Democrats, 80%, 88% now, 90% increase. Republicans at that time were 25% supported a reparations commission. And today it's 53% or more than half of Republicans. And when you look at actual opposition, back in 2019, 75% of Republicans totally opposed the Reparations Commission. Now it's only 47%. Again, less than half. And that's a 37% decrease. And across whites and Democrats, we also see a 40% decrease in opposition to a Reparations Commission. So this is not a time to be turning back. In fact, this is time to be pushing and moving forward on our wins that we've done over the last 5 years and changing the attitudes among white Americans around this issue of reparations. And you can tell that the attitudes have changed based on all of the state and local reparations commissions that are happening all around the country. And so we cannot let the federal government off because the federal government is composed of whites and Democrats and Republicans, you know, and so they're represented in this poll. So we have a gauge of their current attitude, and we have to exploit those attitudes. Fact number 6 is that we've seen the executive power being used at the department level with President Biden's administration, where the indigenous leader of the Secretary of Interior, it's a department level of the executive branch. The executive branch has, I think, 13 departments, not just the president, but you have the Department of Labor and Interior and Transportation and Housing and Urban Renewal, Treasury, and so on. But we saw that the Native Americans got a package of reparations during the last presidency at the departmental level of the federal government. And that department, again, was the Department of Interior, where the indigenous secretary established a committee to investigate boarding school crimes. This committee was just like HR 40, came back with reports, came back with recommendations. Actually, they did 2 studies and 2 reports and 2 listed recommendations. And it was basically HR 40 at the department level. But what we've learned from that and what we're building from these series of facts that we've developed and that we understand is that there are key elements in which we can utilize the federal government to move forward on federal reparations at this particular time. And what are the key elements based on the facts that we've uncovered, that we are presented with? First, we have to establish a single issue redress policy. We can't be broad like HR 40, and we want a number of initiatives. At each department, and again, we're going at the department level. In each department, we find one single redress. We have to show clear federal criminality from that department. And that's easy to do because all of America's criminality was done through the state, through this colonial government. And so, and it was done through these colonial governmental departments. And so it's very easy to show federal unlawfulness, criminality at the department level. And we have to, secondly, we identify continued impact from that unlawfulness that has to be remedied. And then we craft a redress initiative as a pilot program. All that we do at this particular point is craft pilot programs that can be implemented in 1 or 2 years in 3 to 5 cities. And then we scale those up nationally in 3 to 10 years. This is a key component. All of these are key elements to how we move this initiative forward. Each initiative, and these next 2 points are the major points of this particular set of actions. Each initiative must be crafted as an investment. In 2022, I believe, it was Citigroup, which is this nation's, some say the largest banking entity in America, or the second largest banking entity in America. They came out with a report that stated that if America had engaged in reparations 15 years ago, it would have put $22 billion in the economy. And that if they were engaged in reparations now, it could add $5 trillion to the economy going forward, 3%, 0.3% of GDP growth annually every year. It would create 300,000 jobs primarily in the Black community, from Black business development, because 88% of employees at Black businesses are Black people. So the more Black businesses you have, the more Black employees you have. So it would create hundreds of thousands of jobs. It would create trillions of dollars in revenue through these Black businesses. So we know that reparations is not a drag on the economy. In fact, from their own economists, their own criminal economists, they say that it's an investment into the economy. So in each of our initiatives, in each of our pilot initiatives, we have to show a documented return on investment. And if we utilize these elements, understanding these facts, we can actually begin to deliver targeted resource in under 2 years. Whereas HR 40, we look at 4 to 6 years from any type of implementation. 2 years for the study, another couple of years, 18 months, 12 to 24 months to craft initiatives based on what came out of the commission, and then another year or two before resources started to be coming down. So I've always said HR 40 was even though we were working to get it done immediately, even if when we got it done, the clocks began ticking to about another 3.5, 4 to 6 years before redress would actually come down. But with this action, we believe we can have targeted resources under 2 years. We have to frame this and legally frame it. This is not DEI. DEI is some aspirational thing that these liberals want. Reparations is actual redress from crimes that were committed. So it's a whole different legal and political framework. So we focus on federal culpability. These programs are tied to specific documented federal actions, not generalized racial inequality. We emphasize economic growth, frame programs as closing the racial wealth gap, spurring entrepreneurship, reducing healthcare costs, strengthening communities, avoid race-exclusive language where it's legally risky. We use descendants of harmed individuals or targeted communities. And most importantly, we use crimes against humanity, because these were all crimes that this government has committed over centuries against African humanity. And these are some of the targeted departments. But the first targeted department I thought was the Department of Interior. Department of Interior has the Bureau of Land Management. There's still trillions of acres of land that this government owns. Many people don't know that the Homestead Act, which gave white folks all of this land and excluded Black people, which is a basis for redress, was only ended in 1978. And in Alaska, I think it was 1982 and 1983. So the Homestead Act wasn't just, after enslavement or to make America continental wide, go and take in indigenous land west of the colonies, but it lasted all the way up until 1978 as a federal bill, and then Alaska for another 4 or 5 years after that. So we're not that far from the Homestead Act. And when we craft initiatives at the Department of Bureau of Land Management, or the Department of Land, within the Department of Interior, we can craft an initiative as being one that remedies our exclusion from the Homestead Act. Department of Education, our researchers show that every dollar that's spent in redress for the Department of Education, $3 to $5 to $4 would be a return on investment. So if America spent $1 billion, they would get $3.5 to $4 billion return on that investment. Small Business Administration, for every dollar that America spends in redress for Small Business Administration, they get $1.50 to $2.50 return on investment. Housing and Urban Development, Evanston did a restorative housing program where they gave each each victim and descendant of apartheid housing practices $25,000 for home ownership assistance. Well, every dollar spent in home ownership, we were just going to do this citywide and roll it out in 5 cities as a pilot program, every dollar spent, you get $3 to $4 return on investment this government will receive. Department of Agriculture, depending on the remedy, you get $2 to $6 return on investment. And then you have all these other departments as well, Veteran Affairs, Treasury, Commerce, State, and many others that are not on here. But Department of State handles repatriation. Some of us want to repatriate to Africa with resources, with a monthly living expense, or we want something for our families. The Department of State controls that, and the Department of State has aided in the criminality and the victimization and the harm and injury to our people. So all of these governmental bodies have complicity to the actual harms that we're experiencing today, and therefore they all can be targeted for remedy during this particular time. So what is the Federal Redress Advancement Network, or FRAN? We have a secretariat, which is a central planning committee. We have department policy offices, which would be department parts for each of those departments, the Veterans Departments, Department of Defense, Department of HUD, Health and Human Services, Interior, et cetera. We'll link them up with official, former agency officials, stakeholder liaisons. Those are brothers and sisters who are actually doing work already in areas that exist up under one of these departments. And then we have a Legal and Constitution Advisory Committee, just making sure that all of our remedies do not come under DEI threats. Communications and messaging, our comms department, outreach and coalition engagement, bringing more organizations who are doing specific work under a particular department into the network. That's my cue, and I'm stopping in 1 minute. Agency liaison office. And so we're asking everybody here, if you like what you see, you think that this is something that you can be, you would like to commit some time and resources to, you can join the network. Our first official meeting is September 12th. And again, we have 22 members 22 people who are our initial group of network members and orgs. And it's a great time to join. I'm gonna also put this link in the chat. Thank you, Uhuru. Black is back. And like my brother said, it never went anywhere.
Uhuru, Uhuru. Thank you so very, very much, Brother Kamm. Just a time check, Sister Kenge. Time check. What? Right, we're good. Okay, we're going to now have a Q&A discussion. Again, a reminder to people who are in the Zoom room, please put your questions in the Q&A section, because it's hard. We can't follow them in the chat, but in the Q&A we can. So that holds them in place. And let's just open it up. Let's just get right to it. The Q&A. And again, we have Mama Fatima. Nkobo's been a great supporter of the Black is Back Coalition, by the way, and the Hands Off Uhuru Coalition. But do we have any questions?
Yes, we're gonna, we have some questions, and we're gonna, the last presentations that have been presented, we want to know if anyone have any questions. Professor is also a part of this. You know, we have had some dynamic presentations. Oh my goodness, what a great job that the Reparations Working Committee, the group, Brother Brother Duop, Sister Betty Davis with introduction.
Yes.
Lisa, you want to name some of the presentations that just went before us? I don't have the exact. Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah, the student working group with Brother Maku. The JOKO Collective.
Yes,
you know, so we're waiting for our cameraman to come on and put this on this panel. We're gonna take any questions that anyone may have in regards to some of these dynamic presentations that have went before us. I have a question. When you say that, when Brother Zaki was talking about, you know, the topic for this conference is don't agonize, organize. And we know that the time that we're in right now is an opportune time for us. What is it that we need to be doing that we're not doing?
Strategizing.
Let's talk about education, but just make sure that your mics are open. Do you have a mic, Professor? No. Oh, he needs. Oh, okay. Okay, you and our brother Akeem can share. Anybody take the mic on that? You know, and it comes right back to us saying that this is a opportune time. You know, it have been spoken to in some of the concerning some of the presenters of where we are now.
Emmanuel,
I would like to
has
jump.
stand up.
Okay.
Oh.
Or can I be
Okay, so
heard?
Emmanuel and then. Yes. Right, Emmanuel and then Sister Betty.
Okay, yeah. I think it's real important to say that this organization is a coalition of organizations and individuals. I think it's also important to say that these struggles that are occurring, whether it be in the New Orleans front or in different areas in Louisiana or on Dillard University campus itself, that we don't isolate ourselves. There is this beautiful and wonderful coalition of individuals and organizations involved in the same struggles that we're involved in there locally. That we must be tied into this process of coming into coalition, coming into organization, and making sure that we open up new fronts all the time. So number one, so that we don't isolate ourselves, and number two, so that our enemies don't isolate ourselves in colonialism and things like that. The attacks that are happening and infringes on the as well as the infringes on the democratic rights, the national democratic rights of African people. That must be defended by the entire people itself. And I think that's important to note. And also, there is a 19-point working, 19-point national Black political agenda in which we work to organize around and to push forward as a whole people.
Uhuru. Sister Betty?
Yes, I want to say we have to have a mixture of what we've learned from the past,
Yep.
along with what is new. What we've learned from the past is that when we withhold our dollars, this economy crashes. They have always counted on us to get them over the hump of any crisis. In New York City, when they took 51 shots at this young African, Amadou Diallo, we boycotted Easter and Christmas, and Wall Street dropped 5%.
Right.
And when we boycotted Target, I believe it was, Target had a severe drop in their economic progress. And now is the time for us to go across the board and refuse to spend any money outside our community that we can't get within our community. Just if we started that today and said, Christmas is coming, not one dime outside our neighborhoods, we could impact this economy. You're going to get contradictions in that there are workers in certain industries whose jobs might be impacted. But if you look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., and you remember Tulsa, their lives might be impacted if we don't do this. Secondly, I appreciated what Brother Kamm was talking about in terms of reparations. But what does reparations look like when you take over the institutions in your community? For those of us who fight for the public education budget, I can't wait for these Europeans to tell me they're going to control the money in their schools and my schools too. It has happened in New Orleans, as Sister Belinda knows. They used the, what was her name, Klein, philosophy. And after the Hurricane Katrina, they abolished the public school system, but they didn't abolish taking our tax money. And they created charter schools with white economic managers. And we have got to organize and educate our parents and our public school systems that when these charter schools occupy your buildings, you demand that the people who get hired are accountable to the community. I don't want charter schools, but if you're gonna have them, don't you have the personal race pride, a la Marcus Garvey, to say, no, I'm not gonna have a white business manager. Billions are coming in. Billions are coming in for public education. Black people had better own it, and I'm not talking about Eric Adams.
That's right.
Go ahead. Mama Fatima.
Black power, free the land, Uhuru.
Uhuru!
Okay, first of all, what Dingbat in Washington is doing is nothing new.
That's right.
Us elders have been through this before, but there's something missing now that got us through it. Our scholars, our Black lawyers, our committed Black educators have done a wonderful job of laying the groundwork and creating a vision for reparations. We got to have that. We got to understand that. We got to study that, but we cannot stop now.
Yes.
The 20th century, the early part of the 21st century laid the groundwork for reparations. Now it is time for strategic action.
Yes.
That is long overdue. We're not going to win this cause it's justified and we're right. We're going to win this because we know how to fight. We're going to win this when we can go into our communities where our people have been imposed systematic illiteracy. They don't read Kamm Howard, my spiritual son. They don't read all of the books we recommend. They don't know what colonialism is. They don't understand any of that. I'm talking about the most oppressed segments. A few years ago, I was listening to a panel. Everybody on the panel had a PhD. So, and they're going on and on about all of these ideas and that's important. We got to have that too. But I raised a question to them. I said, why is it that the most oppressed segments of our Black communities are always the object of the discussion, but they are never part of it?
That's right.
Poor, deprived, stomped on does not equal stupid.
Wow.
And right now, I'm more mad with our people than I am the white man. Get your nose out of the air.
Yes.
Look at reality. Sister Betty pointed out about how criminalization of our people is an act of warfare.
That's right.
There is more than one way to commit genocide and warfare on the people. They're doing it through the mind now. Our people are not listening to us. They're listening to Madam on, and they're listening to Madam on the Tyler Perry show. I admire, in one sense, I admire that heifer because she keeps the business straight and people in order. This is what our young people are impressed with. They don't care about all this academics. They haven't been taught to care about it. So what I'm saying to us is that take this information and break it down where our people can understand it from our perspective. We can borrow from Marxist Leninism. We can borrow from the Bible, the Quran, or whatever. We can borrow for those things, but it's got to be translated into a language that our people understand. And that is not happening. No. Let us now begin to quit preaching to the choir, sitting around in all these intellectual circles, and hit the streets and hope one of the drug dealers that really control the community don't shoot you in the head while you're doing it.
Can
This
you pass
is what
the
we're
mic?
up against.
Can you pass the mic before you drop it?
All right.
Okay, Ms. Cook, go ahead.
So I think that in our community, I think our organization starts with the acknowledgement of our agony. And
what? I didn't hear. You were saying something real interesting. We didn't get the last part of it.
She can have mine.
Is it?
I was saying, I believe organization.
Hold it up a little closer.
It starts with the acknowledgement of our agony, the pain in our stories, and to undo the cultural and ethnic erasure that has happened with history. Our oppression, specifically in America, is not just a condition of colonialism, but the imperial nature of the United States.
Yep.
I think, especially with young people, that it's important to acknowledge that the racism that we face has changed form, and like the sister said, it is mental. It's mental, it's social, it's systemic, and catching the backwash of a system that was never created for us to survive is dangerous for our children. I do believe that reparations start with information and the pouring out of this information into our children to not just remember what we've been through, but who we are.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
Very good. Wow. Go ahead, pass the mic, Mr. Victor.
As a continuation of not just the idealism of this conference, but the practicality of reparations are needed. They will come only if we understand how to use the knowledge that we have already been given. Working within the diaspora, working within the system is hard. It is not always easy, yet, like Mama said, we have to know how to fight. Knowing how to fight means having not only the intelligence, but the common ground with individuals that are outside of our plight. Yes, we are, and we will continue to be the catalyst. We are the ones that sets the trends for our culture. We are the economic power. So if we understand how to remove that power and to keep it within our own communities, which happens when we start our own schools, when we step outside of the charter school systems, when we step outside of these miseducations, we can have more power. We have more power. Therefore, me understanding that with our hands, being kingdom builders, being men, working with our hands, it's something that it pleases the soul. We can work with our mind, but we can also work with our hands. And getting the young men that are disenfranchised, those that don't necessarily have
that don't feel like they have a voice. They do have a voice, but they don't feel as though they have a voice because of the marginality that happens within democracy in America.
Yes. Very good. Very well said. Professor?
I've been thinking a lot about this conference the last couple of months, and we've heard the theme, don't agonize, but organize. And I'll just be honest, it's difficult for me to grasp this organizational part. You know, all of us have dealt with discrimination and being a Palestinian, and for 100 years, we've been trying to organize peacefully. It hasn't worked. We've tried violence. It hasn't worked. We just haven't gotten anywhere. And even from an educational point of view, we're just been dictated to. I mean, this new administration, okay, we've been dictated. We can't use the word diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh, we got to take this out of the syllabus now. We can't have I said, man, they just made a mandate. We just jumped. Okay, we got to do this now. Why are we not fighting? And everybody in the country just following the mandate. We can't use the word diversity. Can't use the word, this is 2025. We can't use the word diversity.
Right.
My colleague, earlier this year, I received a terrorism grant, and my colleague at Southern received hers. Hers just got cut, and we're trying to figure out why. You know, when we look at the grant, the only difference was she used the word HBCU in it, and that's what we figured out.
Wow.
Why it was cut. And how do we fight this? You know, I had more as diversity. I used a little bit more broader words in mine. The only difference between hers and mine was the HBCU part. And it was like, oh, mine's gonna be cut too. But no, it wasn't cut, thankfully. So I can focus on terrorism and prevention, like the focus of the grant. But hers was cut. We know specifically HBCU was mentioned. And you have a democracy that is against minorities. It's very obvious. It's very clear. And we just, we have to take it. You know, we had a $20 million grant on this campus. Yes. Oh, it focused on it just got cut. Trump came in, just cut it. We spent maybe $100,000 of the $20 million that was supposed to help HBCUs. It just got cut.
Wow.
But how do we fight this? I mean, you say organize, but it's just, we have these people in government that just do what they want, and we just, follow. I don't know. It's frustrating to say organize, and I do feel helpless. I feel like the young people. I'm running a center, and you guys are running coalition. We just keep, we're making some sort of difference, but it doesn't seem to be enough.
Right.
It's just like, I can't understand how in 2025 we're still dealing with these kinds of issues. Yes. And we put people in government that's very obviously not representing the nation.
Well, that's why we're here, Professor. Is it anyone from the panel? We still have like about 5 minutes left. Lisa, we got another question?
No, well, I wanted to just say something, and this is what uplifts me. And first of all, I appreciate what everybody has said, because you're all bringing out great points. It's hard. You're trying to go on, and then they just cut your budget. And you can't ignore that they cut your budget. That is painful. But I always take such great pride, such great strength in the revolutionaries, the ones who overthrew the system. And we got to acknowledge that too. We got to acknowledge that in Louisiana, New Orleans, after the Haitian Revolution, Haiti did overthrow, Black people overthrew that system of enslavement. We got to claim that. But they had one of the largest uprisings here, and then in the Civil War, that's like in one people's lifetime, from when the Haitian Revolution started to the Civil War. It ended in chattel slavery, ended because we rose up and ended it. Any advancement that has ever happened, we did it against all odds, and that is the spirit that we must always have. That we overthrew it. We rose up against all odds, and they made it happen.
Sister Betty, go ahead.
The New Orleans issue is critical. Sister Belinda is right about this. You got to hear me. They cut your federal budget. They didn't cut your state budget. You are paying taxes to the state. You're paying taxes to the federal government too. They took all of your public schools. Why did they take them? If it wasn't wealth, white people wouldn't have wanted it. You understand? That's your money. So if they want to call it whatever they want to call it, but Lisa is right. Now is the time for the politicians to say, don't vote for anybody who will not put an African in these positions, who responds to the community. Make them take an oath of office for a job like they do for office. When you get to be a principal, of these schools. You must be accountable for this type of history, this type of results in math, this type of results in reading, because as quiet as it's kept, there are Black educators who want to be accountable to the community, but the system pushes them out. I would never have my pension if every school I hadn't been in, the parents went to war for me. But why did they go to war for me? Because I told them, this is your school. Come in anytime you want. They knew they were welcome. I asked them, what kind of education programs do you want? And I fought to get those programs, and the state had to let me have them because the community was demanding it. So the sister is right. You have to take them where they want to go, but they have the right to tell you what they need when they're going there. And the first thing my parents asked me for were employability, computer-trained jobs. They wanted people to come to the school building, open up these computers, teach them how to use it, and teach them how to get the jobs. And I didn't bother what kind of English they spoke or if they didn't speak English. So the capitalist system is set up in such a way that every citizen, even if you buy cigarettes, you know you're paying taxes.
Yes.
There's regressive tax and there's progressive tax. And we are a gold mine. That's why they want our institutions.
Right.
So that's what Lisa is right about. There's different ways of fighting the Haitian Revolution.
Is there anyone else, any panelists that want to speak to this? Because we want to wrap it up.
The money is in the state contracts.
Yes,
Take those
Sister Betty.
contracts.
That's powerful. Yes. Is there any other panelists that want to speak?
Are there any questions?
Or any questions in the chat? Okay, you can open up your mic. Look like Sister Secretary Zaki.
And shout out to Secretary Sister Zai.
Yeah, there are no questions that I could see in the chat.
Okay, wonderful. This has been a great discussion, and we really appreciate all the response that we got from this panel. On that note, then, Sister Lisa, we're at the end. I did have another question. Is there time for one more question, Sister Lisa?
She's the stage manager.
Yeah. Uhuru, I didn't have a question, but I wanted to appreciate all of the panelists and especially want to appreciate my leadership, Chairman Omali Ishikala and the African People's Socialist Party for hosting the Reparations Tribunal in New York back in 1981, which was the catalyst for popularizing reparations as we know today. I think that the example of what we can do also can be found especially in the African People's Socialist Party and the numerous different institutions that they have built that is funded by us. Each and every one of us, it's people power that makes it all work. We don't get any humongous, globs of state and federal grants that make all of this happen. It's the work of the people from our community gardens. And that is the thing that we really, when we talk about don't agonize, organize, is that we've got to hit the ground. It's in the people, and we have to educate, as we said, make sure that it's the workers and the poor people that are all of us really that are catching hell. I'm not a scholar and I'm not rich, okay, but I'm struggling just like everyone else is. But we do, as the theme of this conference says, we have to get organized and hit the streets. Brother Akeem, I really appreciate your tenacity. Number one, your courage. Yep. Number two, also you too, young sister, because it's not necessarily popular to be against the status quo. But that's what it's going to take. I think our examples have been what happened in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s when we all seem to have more of a commonality, but the system hasn't changed. It hasn't changed at all. And the greatest examples of it not changing is where we find ourselves at today. I've heard people say, why are we, we're still doing the same thing. We're still fighting the same fights because we're not free yet. And I want to be free. Uhuru.
That's right.
Uhuru.
And also,
Sister Lisa, I got one question. I wanted to ask Brother Kamm, we're talking about, organizing our reparation working group here in the state of Louisiana. And one of the things I wanted you to share is that, the platform that you have, or the format that you have for what reparations would look like for the state of Louisiana. That's a good question.
Well, thank you, Sister, for that question. And let me just thank Sister Tanya, who's, I don't know if she's there in the audience or on Zoom, for joining the Redress Network, filling out the form to join the Redress Network. Thank you, Sister Tanya. So how would reparations look in any state in America? What I took the challenge on doing beginning in 2014 is to presenting a standard of redress in America that was reminiscent, or that was agreed upon by the international community, because the standard in America was that of the Japanese Americans. They got $25,000, they got a little education, it was taught in schools, some of their political prisoners were released, but that was the American congressional standard at that time, and even up to this time. Not up to this time, but in 2014, I took it upon myself as the Legislative Commission Chair of COBRA, as a NAR commissioner, to introduce the international standard into our efforts. And now all across the country, people are following this international standard of full reparations. And that is that every criminal entity that engaged in the crimes against our humanity, and where there's continued impact, those criminal entities have to engage in what is called full reparations. And full reparations has 5 components. Cessation and assurances of guarantees of non-repetition. If there's bad acts continuing, those bad acts have to stop. And you have to put in place systems to make sure that they don't continue, like community control systems. The second is restitution. How do you return the people back the way they would have been had those crimes not happened? In the state of Louisiana and out throughout the South, there was a huge history of post-enslavement crimes called convict leasing that were more atrocious than enslavement. And it also left the current African community in New Orleans with a debt disparity that's grossly wider than that across the country. So restitution is wealth building, education, etc. Then there's compensation, monetary damages. Then there's satisfaction, returning the dignity back to people. Museums, curriculum changes, monuments, markers, apologies, those things operate under satisfaction. And then rehabilitation for the mind, heart, and spirit damage as a result of the crimes and atrocities committed against folks there in Louisiana, which are many in Louisiana. So there's a number of things that can be crafted when you utilize this framework. I mean, there's hundreds of things that can be crafted. What you have to look at is what I was saying earlier. You have to look at the particular crimes from a particular period, the period of enslavement. What are the crimes from enslavement that has a continued impact today? And then you craft a remedy or remedies to address that continued impact. What were the crimes of apartheid? They called it Jim Crow, but what were the crimes of apartheid, the lynching, the convict leasing, the sharecropping, all of that? Where does that impact Black Louisianans today? And then you craft remedies to correct that, reparative initiatives to remedy that impact. And then you look at the post-apartheid era, which I call neo-colonialism or neo-apartheid era, 1960s. Right after the Baki decision, because affirmative action was to address the racial social order coming out of apartheid. But when that was attacked, we went into a new era of apartheid, where you see the disparities have widened and than they were prior to apartheid. So what were those crimes? Redlining, mass incarceration, police terror, predatory lending. And what is the impact of those crimes on current living Black folks in Louisiana? And you craft remedies for that. So no matter where we at in the country, we utilize this model. Crimes, continued impact, repair. And there's three eras of crimes: the era of enslavement, the era of apartheid, and this current era of neo-apartheid era that we're in, or this neo-colonial era that we're in, where you have all this Black leadership, but the racial order has not changed a bit. Even though you have Black leadership in a lot of these spaces, that's neo-apartheid, like you have neo-colonialism on the continent of Africa. So utilize that model, utilize the international standard of full reparations, and you'll come out, with a strategic plan on how to move the whole issue of reparations forward in Louisiana.
Uhuru, thank you so much, Brother Kamm, for that. Thank you so very much. And we have come to, for today, the ending of this conference for today, because this ain't no conclusion at all. This ain't no conclusion. This is a beginning. This is a...
Sister Vice Chair, we saw Chairman O'Malley come on to the Zoom. Did the chairman want to say something?
Time is just expanded.
Everybody forget the camera.
Chairman O'Malley, Yeshatella.
Where is it?
Or I think he stepped away for a second.
Well, I want to salute my participant, Maddison Tirado.
Yes.
Maddison Tirado.
Yes.
Really broke it down. He gave you an example of how you can apply community control. If we don't get more community gardens, we're going to start seeing starvation. If we don't get more community gardens, I don't know about Louisiana, but in New York City, we're going to be seeing starvation if we don't start having more community gardens. We have nothing but food deserts in New York City now. We used to have local grocery stores. When they gentrified, they took the grocery stores. And so New York City is becoming a food desert. We're really on the brink of a real disaster.
And what I just want to say at the conclusion, right, Sister Kenge? We have this 19-point platform. And we can begin sometimes even in small steps. For me, courage is a muscle that has to be exercised. Utilize this 19-point platform. They're going to tell us to be so afraid all right now because Trump is in office, so therefore you got to support any Democrat. We don't have to do that. Live this in every part of our life. Anybody talking to you, where do you stand on reparations? My first question to other people, if we want to be a comrade, is where do you stand on reparations? And if your answer ain't what I think it should be, then c'est la vie. But anyway, good people.
And with regard to reparations, New Orleans, start with the elementary schools. Okay, go ahead, Sister Betty. Start with the elementary schools. Insist on parent workshops. Yes. Because the average parent today is not your 30-year-old parent. Your average parent is starting with 17, even 16 on up. Give them the concrete job entry-level programs inside the school. Demand that the charter school money, which is really your money, pay for that. Also, what we did when we took over our schools for that brief 10-year period that we controlled our schools in Brooklyn, we had a paraprofessional program where the parents were trained first as paraprofessionals to assist the teachers and then given grants through the local teachers union to become teachers. And by the time the 1980s came, a good 1/3 of our teachers were community people. When we started losing because the Black loyal Democrats sold us out.
Yes.
Then you found that they replaced the community-based parent who became teachers with these bourgeoisie Black teachers. And then they were easy to get out of the system because they don't fight back. And we ended up with the white colonials again. But the core is the community. You can start having parent workshops. From those parent workshops, get paraprofessionals to assist the students in the classroom who are behind in reading, are behind in math. They were the child's first teacher. They know how to teach, especially the little ones. And that's how we got our first core of Black teachers in New York City in the 60s and then the 70s. You can do it.
Don't pass this mic until you finish speaking. That was so powerful what she just said. That's how we got it. That's what we did to get it. And that's what we have to do moving forward. So I guess we have some final, this actually wraps up our conference, but we have, Sister Kenya, we have some final announcements.
Yeah, before we go to the announcements, and we were talking about, again, we say don't agonize, organize. The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations has already outlined and developed some tools that can make everyone in this room and everyone online an organizer. You can find these tools online, and for those that are in the room, inside of your packet, you will find a petition that you can circulate in your community on Black community control of the police. That turns everyone in this room, everyone listening to my voice, into an organizer. If you believe and you know that we should have Black community control of the police, you heard a whole entire presentation yesterday, or if not today, on what that means and what it should look like, what it can look like, then we have to take action. And you don't have to start from scratch. Online, if you go to the blackisbackcoalition.org, you will find an entire kit. One part of that is the petition. You can begin circulating it in your community. In terms of, there's also a resolution that you will find online as well that you can take to your local city council office. The template has already been laid for you. The verbiage is there. All you've got to do is to get organized, hit the streets, take it out there and work with it. There's also a petition that we've developed on political prisoners. You heard an entire presentation, and you also had the opportunity to meet several members of the Angola 3, as well as I believe it was the Ohio 7. We have got to free those brothers and sisters. And it's going to take us. There's a petition that's already been developed and designed. The verbiage is there. And I really want to encourage you to download it and take it out into your community. Also online, you will find the principles of unity of the coalition. You got to join something. You can't just stand on the sidelines. Join the Black is Back Coalition. We have a number of working groups. There's a place for everyone. Join. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it today. Read our principles of unity. And of course, I think one of the most outstanding documents that the coalition produced, which is our National Black Political Agenda for Self-Determination. You got an overview of the declaration as well as the 19 points. If you're online, you can find this document online. If you're in the room, you have it in your packet. Read it, share it with others. It wasn't an easy feat for us to put this together. It took us over a year, and we went to probably 30, 40, 50 cities within North America and got the input of African people, Black people, where they live, to put this together and agreed on what this national Black political agenda for self-determination. We have to push our agenda, not someone else's agenda, but ours. So again,
Number 18 of that agenda is free Palestine. You were saying that way back then.
And what's important is that we're going to be pushing our agenda with our march on the White House.
Absolutely.
Sister can you go ahead and
yes, absolutely. I think we have that announcement. If it's the first one or not, but on November 1st and 2nd, the coalition, I'm just really excited about it also
Yes,
too,
I am
because it will be 17 years, which means we're fast approaching 20. And they say Black people can't work together. I just really appreciate the leadership of Chairman Amalia Shatella for pulling this coalition together. And for 17 years, on November 1st and 2nd, we will host our 17th annual Black People's March on the White House. We will again be in Malcolm X Park, and just a whole host of events that will occur on that weekend. So I'm asking you to continue to follow our website. If you haven't followed us, follow us now, because as they say, be there or be what? All right.
That's going to take place November 1st through November 2nd.
Right.
And
we chose that time right before the elections. So no matter what year it is, the first week in November, whenever we chose it, it's right before elections, whether it's an election year or not, like so the next election year. But that's why we chose that date, to give a message that we don't care who's in that White House. We don't care. You're going to do what we want to be done.
I got one more. Go ahead.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead, give her the mic.
And someone asked the other day about supporting our brothers and sisters that are in these death camps. They can subscribe to, you can sponsor a prisoner. The Burning Spear Media ships out almost 1,000 copies a month for free to our brothers and sisters in these death camps every month. And you can become you can sponsor a prisoner. You can subscribe to the Spear and have the Spear sent into the prisons. And it hasn't been easy to make that happen, because for years we had some real pushback. They didn't even want to let the papers in. A newspaper, how could you not? But that information, is power. So when we keep that in mind, I think that it's important that you request to sponsor a prisoner. Go to theburningspear.com, click support. If you're in the room or on Zoom, there's a QR code there. Please take advantage of that, because we have to organize everywhere we are. Uhuru.
I just want to make it clear that the Black August initiative for our prisoners of war, there's a difference between a political prisoner and a prisoner of war. Prisoners of war is somebody that went down struggling against the army of occupation, as opposed to a prisoner of war, which is the result of capitalist oppression. But the political prisoner initiative from the prisoners of war, we, during August, have what we call curb festivals. We mentioned it yesterday, where we sponsor events on the block, in the street, to educate this generation about political prisoners. Every last one of those tables carries the burning spear. So wherever we are telling people about Mamiya, or telling people about our brother who freed Assata Shakur, Kamal Siddiqui, there's a Burning Spears newspaper. We always collaborate with that.
I have one more announcement. Do you have anything else? I have one more final announcement, and that I just want to say that Louisiana United International is doing a campaign right now, which we all know that our, criminal justice system is corrupt. And that, like somebody said it earlier, the law is whatever they say it is. And right now we're in a campaign, and we're saying that justice of the people, by the people, for the people does not exist in our, especially here in the state of Louisiana, in our courtrooms. I fought a fight, and I was told that I was not allowed in the courtroom. I want the people to know that I fought and went all the way up to the Louisiana Supreme Court and beat them and won. So they had to reverse that and put me, back where I'm supposed to be, court watching in these courtrooms. One of the things that have been so, critical is that they want to put us, our people, in these courtrooms all by themselves. And that's what Ms. Cook can attest to, so that they can do whatever they want to do. And so the courts belong to the people.
That's right.
The courts belong to the people. And we will refuse to be denied when it comes for us to be in the court watching what they do to us. Now, what they try to do is do all of their dealing and willing and scheming and conniving and cheating in the back chambers, okay? We done caught them so many times at, having sex on top of the desk in the chambers, okay? It's all kind of video and stuff out on what the judges, the kind of backroom deals that they make with people, okay? And from the jailhouse to the courthouse, and the monopoly where we got the lying lawyers that would take your money and say one thing to your face and do something else behind your back. I'm not making this up, y'all know it's true. After you done paid them thousands and thousands of dollars, okay, to the tune of $40,000, $50,000, and then they tell you, force, threaten, and badger you to take a plea, and a plea is free, okay? So we're doing a campaign right now, and we're saying that, we want justice, and we're not backing down. And we have a petition that we're gonna be circulating in regards to what it looks like for us to be in a contract agreement on who we want to represent us or speak for us in the courtroom. Now, if I go in the courtroom, or Sister Betty go in the courtroom, which is very articulate and able to, correspond and respond and represent her sister or her daughter, they gonna set her down because she's not a licensed attorney, okay? But I feel as though if we enter into a contract agreement and we want this person to speak on our behalf, we should not be charged with unauthorized practice of law.
That's right.
So we feel as though that is a all-out attack against our First Amendment right to say who we want to represent us or speak on our behalf. Okay, I got told that I had to pay $1,000 fine because I was in contempt of court because I was talking to one of my constituents about you don't have to take a plea, you got the right to go to trial. And they charged me and fined me $1,000 because I was not a lawyer, a lying lawyer. Okay, so it's about to go down, people.
All right.
What we're saying, is support Louisiana United International. Stand with us. I know this sister right here got a powerful story about how they was trying to hijack her in the courtroom, kidnap them and hold them hostage because you want to speak for yourself. You want to represent yourself, but they don't want to respect you because you educated and you know what you're talking about, okay? But they want to shut you down, fine you, lock you up, kidnap you, hold you hostage because they want to silence us from representing ourselves or representing our people. Ain't that right, Ms. Cook? So the conference is over. But I'm here to tell you, it ain't gonna never stop when it comes to a powerful organization like the Black is Back Coalition and all of these organizations. And I am so proud and so happy to be a part of a powerful coalition that is standing for our own self-determination.
Yep. The conference is over, but we've only just begun. And the Healthcare Working Group is having a webinar on the 6th of September. We'll send information out about that. And also, they're coming after me in New Jersey because I stood up for Palestine. So you'll be informed about that as well. But we ain't afraid. We are not scared. Uhuru! And also, shout out to Sister Ona Zanaya Shatella of the Black Power Blueprint. Shout out to everybody. Thank you. All of the steering committee. Thank you. All of the supporters of the Black is Back Coalition and all of the future supporters. We thank you, Uhuru. And Louisiana, New Orleans.